Hi, I'm KillCam. Welcome to KillCamUpdate. This is guest Rampage, and it features WIKINGER and a Focke-Wulf 190A4 in War Thunder. Here it is, ladies and gentlemen, our second guest Rampage episode for War Thunder. Today's pilot is WIKINGER, and he's flying a Focke-Wulf 190A4, the apparent current favorite among elite SEAL clubbers. If you have exceptional gameplay footage recorded in at least 720p, or a replay file you'd like to see in a future episode of Guest Rampage, send it in and maybe your game will be featured as well. As it turns out, our first Guest Rampage pilot, Rotor, initially suggested I speak to WIKINGER and see if he had any games to submit for Guest Rampage on KillCamUpdate. Turned out he had none, but he promised to go fly out until he had a 20 kill or more game in one plane. Not even a few hours later, he had success and his email was in the inbox. An A4 in the hands of a good pilot with motivation is a good bet. Alright, let's see what kind of damage WIKINGER did in this arcade match. He starts out with what else? Climbing. The initial merge of the match usually sets the tone for the rest of the game, and here, WIKINGER sees some juicy bomber targets above 4,000 altitude, and he wants to feast on them. He levels off at about 4,000, and his first opportunity is a B-25 Mitchell. Comes in from off-center to avoid its 50 caliber machine guns. He gets the first kill without facing the danger of a head-on flying into oncoming 50 caliber bullets. Next, there's an HE-111 bomber trailing a little behind and a little above the B-25 that also makes for an inviting target. This time it takes a somewhat longer burst to send the 111 down in flames, but the result was still the same. Ditto for this IL-4, medium bombers flying straight with no evasive maneuvers attempted and in a convenient staggered line formation. Is it any wonder WIKINGER scored a hat-trick there with 3 quick kills? If you fly like a skeet shooting pigeon, odds are you're going to get planked. Alright, so 3 planes down and there are still bombers up at altitude for WIKINGER to attack. He's encountered no fighter cover up there over 4,000 meters, so the enemy team has pretty much fed him easy kills early on. A Wellington approaches at a lower altitude, so the A4 is put into a shallow dive for a head-on approach. One short burst later, the Wellington is taken out and WIKINGER's kill total will stand at 4. Climb early and get on top of the enemy and you control the battle. Now with nothing else to do, our intrepid A4 pilot does what should be the default action in that case. Climb some more. Energy is life, or whatever other overused cliche you want to use. There's another bomber coming in under WIKINGER, so the kill train keeps on rolling. He's just loitering up high and taking what the enemy team gives him. A simple dive gets WIKINGER onto the Beaufort 6, and a long burst from his 20s ensues. Bam! 5 kills, and the match isn't even 4 minutes old yet. Now we see a little later that the A4 has given up a lot of altitude. It's important that WIKINGER get away from trouble and regain some of that lost height advantage back, at least over threats local to him. Keeping an eye behind him when it's safe, he pulls an Immelman and levels out at over 1,500 meters. There's an I-16 climbing up to engage him, so WIKINGER fakes him into a head-on, gets off his shells and bugs out of the head-on early. The Ishak flies right into the Menengeschoss and gets introduced to the ground. This means the A4 has to climb again. And he does, but would you believe another I-16 is climbing at him? Feeling deja vu. You're going to see him dive in again. The 20s will be fired, and WIKINGER will dodge the return fire. 2 more kills, and he's got 7. Another climb and look back lets us take into sight of the smoke trail parabola of the dying Ishak. This time the A4 will go into a burst climb until about 2,000 meters when the indicated airspeed falls to about 200 kph. It's smart to level off before you drop below 200. You don't want to be near stall speed. This will put WIKINGER into cloud cover and allow for a wider look around for new opportunities. One happens to present itself in the form of a meandering P400 below. The A4 goes into a dive and comes out of the clouds roughly 1,800 meters above the ground. A couple of adjustments put the plane onto the P400's tail, and he opens fire at 400 meters. 1 burst, 1 kill, 8 for the match. Moving along, you can see that WIKINGER spent some time climbing again. He's going to reach nearly 3,000 meters before he's through. If nothing else is pressing and you're below 4,000 meters, you should probably always climb. Anyway, this puts the A4 above the MiG-3, and it should come as no surprise when it noses down and moves into attack. This time, the angle is good, but not an ideal one, so the gun burst is a lot longer than WIKINGER would want, I think. It's not too bad though, the MiG winds up dead in any event. With the MiG out of the picture, WIKINGER starts another climb and looks around for more opportunities. This one's shaping up to be too good to believe. As he pulls through 2,000 meters in altitude, he tracks a pair of planes in a climb, one right next to the other, oblivious to any danger directly overhead. The A4 begins its dive and the Reds just don't deviate from their slow climb. He closes to 400 meters before doing anything, takes out the trailing Typhoon so that the lead Yak had no idea what happened. 2 more kills in less than 2 seconds. Added together with the MiG about 30 seconds ago, that makes 11 planes destroyed. This here is what set WIKINGER's game apart from some of the other submissions I got. He's hovering just above a Spitfire. Watch how he baits it just out of effective range of its guns. He's got balls of steel as the Spitfire manages to chip a little paint off the Focke-Wulf. Still, WIKINGER keeps climbing just enough to let the Spitfire walk into the trap. When his pursuer can't keep the climb up anymore, he's helpless. My friends, don't prop stand under a Focke-Wulf, it's suicide. The Focke-Wulf comes down and shreds its prey. On top of this, another Focke-Wulf gets shot down just for being in the area at the wrong time. To make matters worse for the red team, he spots a Yak-19 and a Zero in a kill train behind a teammate lower than him. For crying out loud, it's like taking candy from a baby. He moves in behind the Yak-19 and flames it. Then onto the Zero. Boom and boom. 4 planes dead in 20 seconds. Forget about it. I don't need to see any more. Give this man a trophy. Seal Clubber of the Week, ladies and gentlemen. So, 15 kills and the ticket counter shows this match is in its final phase. WIKINGER's team has the upper hand, but it's still a game. The A4 is at nearly ground level and so are a lot of Reds. He's keeping his speed up as he bobs and weaves through them, making sure not to fly in a perfectly straight line and make himself an easy target. After taking a couple of pot shots to no avail, the Ju-87 Stuka gets sniped for kill number 16. WIKINGER comes out on the other side of all those Reds and has the safety he needs to climb a little. After looking back and ensuring no one's close enough to be a threat, he does another half loop up to 1,000 meters. This puts him headed back into the fray with a bit of an altitude advantage locally. I think these Reds are going to suffer for not killing the A4 when they had a chance. First to regret it is a Spitfire, then a Ki-61 that turns away from the A4's guns too late. The Japanese plane didn't die immediately but crashed shortly after. This is why when you have a Focke-Wulf down low, you don't give it space to breathe. Otherwise, it will reach safety and often come back through for another boom and zoom pass. 18 planes have been put into the ground and this game is just about over. It's at this point where almost everyone left with a fighter in the air is low to the ground looking to squeeze out another kill. Flying styles are often abandoned and most players go full aggressive mode. WIKINGER throws caution to the wind here and goes into a wide turn, looking to line up a Lag 3 in a turn fight of its own. The Lag pilot isn't aware of the danger or didn't care, flying right in front of a Focke-Wulf for a certain death. The Ki-61 that forces a head-on doesn't have the same defense. Willingly going head-on with an A4 and a Ki-61, what did he think would happen? 20 kills for WIKINGER. What a game. What a War Thunder player. Between Rodert's 28 kill performance in the first guest Rampage and WIKINGER's 20 kill game in this one, we've seen 48 kills and 0 deaths in these 2 matches with the A4. Is it any wonder Gaijin just bumped the battle rating up on this plane? I think it's fair where it's at now. Players are still having good games in it, but it's not as easy to string monster game after monster game with it as it was before the adjustment. If you have a game to share with 10 or more arcade kills or 5 kills simulated in the plane without being shot down, send it to KillCamUpdate@gmail.com and maybe it'll be highlighted on a future guest Rampage. Looks like we've reached the end of this episode. I hope WIKINGER's exploits left you suitably entertained. Hopefully my nattering on and on about it didn't deter from it too much. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, like, and share the video if you please. Happy New Year everyone, and good hunting!